Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Flambers Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. Designed for more than just therapists, if you're a helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself, and if you're encouraged by it as well, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one on one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author and speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today, I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on conflicted mourning in times of tragedy. As you've likely heard by now, Charlie Kirk, a conservative political activist, was fatally shot while speaking at a college event in Utah. Now, the first thing that must be done after a tragedy such as this is to send condolences to his wife and daughters, as all loss of life is significant, especially to the family and friends who are experiencing the loss as a significant relationship and mourning the loss of the experiences they hope to have had in the future. For the rest of the world, there are varying responses to the news of Charlie Kirk's death. Many, though having no direct relationship with him, also feel a sense of mourning of the loss of his life and the inspiration they felt from him and the positive impact they believe he could have on society in the future. And for many others, also having no direct relationship with him, they felt something different. For their experience of him, even from afar, was not of inspiration and positive hope for the future, but instead, in light of his sharing very strong political views about varying cultural groups, identities, and expressions, which many experienced as derogatory and offensive, they experienced him as the prominent voice of rhetoric that inspired others to hate them, oppose them, and vote for the removal of services that supported them, and who looked down on them and otherwise view them as inherently less than just because of who they are. So, why do I bring this up? It's not to speak ill of the dead, but because of my role as a marriage and family therapist, I've encountered many people who feel emotionally conflicted, caught in the middle of these opposing feelings, where on one hand, there's a universal sense of compassion for all loss of life, and on the other hand, there is a memory of a long-standing need to protect themselves from the direct and indirect negative and offensive views, words, and actions that were made during this particular life. As a result, they find themselves in a state of conflicted mourning. Inspired by some of the conversations that I've had and the insights that many have expressed were helpful, I offer to anyone listening who finds themselves in a similar state of conflicted mourning a few considerations which I hope would be helpful to you as you move forward from this most recent tragedy. Consideration number one: know that it's okay to mourn someone's loss of life without honoring or celebrating how they spent their life. Too often, people fall into the belief that mourning someone's life means that they're conveying that everything about that life that was lived was good. This need not be the case. First of all, if we're honest, we can acknowledge that no one is all good. Acknowledging this allows us to realize that what seems so difficult to do now has already been done before. So often, when we lose family, friends, even acquaintances, there are memories of the good times as well as memories of the bad times. We don't force ourselves to delete the bad times from our memory. Instead, we make intentional efforts to acknowledge that both the good and the bad existed and allow ourselves the freedom to feel sad about the loss of the good separate from the bad. This is what you're invited to do here with Charlie Kirk now and similar losses in the future. Despite the lists of faults that may be on their life's resume, allow yourself the permission to feel genuine empathetic sadness for the sudden and forced taking of another human being's life and the impact that life has on their family and friends and loved ones. Similarly, consideration number two is this: mourning someone's tragic loss of life doesn't mean the approval of everything that they said or did. Just as many people feel as though it's just disingenuous to mourn the death or fear that it may convey approval for how that life was spent, so it's worth encouraging you to resist the temptation to conclude that everyone who chooses to mourn his death approves of everything he said and did, and thus makes those individuals threats to your well-being as well. Resisting this temptation has the potential to create space for people on both sides to separate their shared feelings of sadness for an untimely loss from their decisions afterwards, which will reflect either a desire to work together to meet a variety of needs or a desire to amplify division, adding reason for the other side to feel the need to protect themselves from perceived attacks. You don't need to resist mourning to prove your disapproval for someone's life, and someone else's mourning a life doesn't automatically make them your enemy. Which leads to consideration number three. All loss of life presents the opportunity to learn from the past, maximize the good, and avoid the bad. After tragic events like this, law enforcement professionals work tirelessly to identify the specific perpetrator of the most recent and horrible events, learn what factors contributed to their specific decisions, and then explore what needs to occur to prevent repeated occurrences in the future. No matter what you thought of this man, he, along with many political influences and leaders, not only had thoughts, beliefs, and values of their own, but they also represented the thoughts, beliefs, and values of a large portion of our society, similar to as well as different from your own. One of the factors often believed to contribute to horrific events like this is extreme political polarization and the vilifying of anyone who either believes differently or whose life is lived so far outside of their own cultural norm that it feels like their mere existence of those differences is a threat to their well being. This reality alone makes the challenge of reducing future tragedies not the responsibility of the law enforcement or political leaders alone. We all have the opportunity to make an impact in our environment. Whether or not you consider yourself to be in a position of influence in your environment, you have the opportunity to not only express your own worldviews in various people in it, but also show an openness to listening to the motivations behind contrasting views of others. Let me be clear. You are not obligated to agree with others. You're not even obligated to consider every idea or position as equally valid, especially when those opinions have shown the power to inspire others to take actions that threaten your well being. However, your offer of unearned respect, enough to listen to varying perspectives, has the potential to reduce the need for someone else to go to extreme measures just to be heard, after being so unheard prior to you, making them come into their encounter with you already feeling so dismissed and ignored that they feel that violent desperation is the only way they can be seen. Similarly, if what you hear when you listen makes it clear to you that the other person's beliefs pose a threat to your getting your needs met, then you will be justified in finding ways to actively work against their efforts to implement those ideas in practices. Even better will be to find a way to oppose those ideas in ways that prevent you from getting your needs met, those ideas in ways that model mutual safety in verbal expression, showing that you are not proposing solutions that leave their needs unmet, but are rather pursuing solutions that result in as many people having their needs met as possible. And most importantly, you can model the process of finding more solutions before concluding that ending someone's life, no matter how flawed, is the only desperate option left to get your needs met or protect you and your loved ones. Now, how to do that in action is definitely a longer conversation. However, the foundation of that conversation is the creation of safe, shared environments where we can internally wrestle with and outwardly share conflicted feelings and imperfect solutions in increasingly healthy ways moving forward without the threat of losing lives on either side. With that being said, my hope for you is that you would join in the creation of safe environments, one situation at a time, one conversation at a time, where people feel safe to feel conflicted in their mourning. Acknowledge both the legitimacy of the tragedy of all loss of life and its family implications, as well as the less than compassionate feelings such as conflicted relief that a perceived threat to one's well being is no longer actively working against them or inspiring others to perpetuate those feelings in action. Resist the temptation to vilify anyone who feels differently than you, but that has the potential to make people feel more unheard, more unseen, more undervalued, which contributes to the polarization underlying extreme actions. Similarly, resist the temptation to ask or expect those who felt significantly hurt or abused by how this particular life was lived, expecting them to honor that life or to be the most prominent voices in celebrating that life. Creating safe space for conflicted mourning creates a potential for healthy processing and expressions of emotions, which is what we all would benefit from at some point, and which creates more opportunities for culturally safe and healthily diverse personal and professional relationships, no matter how cultural similarities or differences there may be. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Dude podcast. If you have any pressing diversity related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame free and empowering guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know of anyone else who could benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
What's up, everyone? It's Shaletta. I'm here getting a phone for one of my newly minted teenagers with Xfinity Mobile. They've got great options, affordable plans, and solid coverage that works for our whole family. With Xfinity Mobile, my daughter can stay connected with me wherever she goes. And did you know when you sign up, you can get an extra phone line free for a full year? Switch to Xfinity Mobile today for more savings, more smiles, and more ways to stay connected.
When I walked across that stage at my high school graduation, I was excited, but confused about my next step. Then I walked through the doors at Doherty Family College. Doherty Family College is part of the University of St. Thomas. It's a 2-year college that lets you earn an associate's degree and puts you on a path to your bachelor's degree. Classes are small, so I have a personal relationship with professors committed to my success. Like the name says, they treat us like family. They call us scholars because they believe we could do anything we put our minds to. They set us up for excellence with free tutoring, and that's not the only thing that's free. Laptops, books, even breakfast and lunch, and bus fare. That's part of the package here at Doherty Family College. It's even free to apply. So do like I did. Go to dfc.stthomas.edu and set up a tour. We'd be excited to welcome you to our family here at Doherty Family College.